Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, getting better. Thank you all for being here. My name is Ben Hanson, and I'm happy to be here. I'm joined by old Bebop Jacob Gaylor.
That's me. I'm back.
I'm joined by Jeff Markiafava.
Hello.
And I'm joined by new year, new attitude, new her, Sarah Podzorski.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm doubling down on my bullshit.
All right, hang on. Swearing, make it time.
First bleep of the year for Ben.
You're a confident person, I believe, Sarah. Are you into the New Year's resolutions? Do you do anything, or do you just write on a blackboard, I'm perfect, and then move on?
I mean, my thing is I have things I want to accomplish in the new year, but I feel like New Year's resolutions are just kind of ways for people to like pre-brag on what they want to do. Yes. It really feels like you're like pre-bragging. You're like, this year, I'm going to learn a new language. And you're like, okay, get back to me at the end of the year with your new language that I know you're not going to learn.
You're right, because if you blast it on social media, you'll get 20% of the love.
So many people will be like, oh my God, what an accomplished individual.
Yeah. I've never heard somebody say they want to lose weight before. You're a hero. Truly a visionary. We're getting worse and worse with each episode. Please get used to that. Mm-hmm. On this episode of the MinnMax Show, we are talking all about 2023, but forget these ways of getting better. We're talking about what really matters in this world. Go, 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 games! We're going to break down individually. I'm sorry, Jeff. This is off to an obnoxious start. We're going to break down 5 games that we're each looking forward to, and then I think there's going to be a big honorable mention section, because it turns out 2023 is going to be a good year for games, or so it looks, at least right now. And then the back half of the show, we have some wonderful questions from the community that submitted over there on Patreon. We're going to answer them, and they're going to be really smart and really engaging and really fun. So stay tuned, everybody, for that. Okay. We each have 5 games for 2023. I had a tough time making this list because I'm still in the mindset of like finalizing my favorite games from 2022, which I try to be as focused and as honest as possible. And so making this list of most anticipated games, I was really bringing it down to the science. And I was like, you know what? This is a looser list. It's just 5 games we're looking forward to. We'll talk about a bunch of stuff in here. I don't need to be like, is this 3 or number 2? Oh. Jeff, what was your experience like of looking at games in 2023?
It was interesting. There was one that it feels like I have a lot more games that I'm just kind of hoping that I will end up liking. And I've divorced myself from reality making this list. And it's like, wow, the concept of this game sounds so cool. I'm going to put it on this list and I'm going to hope it turns out how much faith I actually have. Like if this was a list of predict the best games of 2023, it would look very different.
Right. But so your list is under the assumption that every game's a solid 9.5 as it releases.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you want to just say meet your maker, or should we just read in between the lines here?
Meet my maker?
Oh, that wasn't on the list. That's the one I think of that everyone's rooting for to be cool. What do you got? Give me one of the games that you're looking forward to in 2023.
Oh, we're starting, huh?
Why not?
Should I just open the can of worms so that you guys can all gush about it early?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Zelda. I'm looking forward to Zelda. I want to really like this game.
And you were a very late comer to Breath of the Wild. Or you played when it came out and you're like,
I played when it came out and I didn't like it, and I went back to it 2 more times. And it grew on me. It certainly grew on me. The real catalyst was my wife played the entire thing and loved it. And so she was kind of on the couch next to me. It was also, that was a double-edged sword though, because every time she got annoyed with something, she gave it to me to play through it. So I played through like the worst parts of it.
Oh, that camel
boss. You had to like sneak through the flower patch section.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And like every janky physics-based, like hit this boulder into this hill on this, into a hole on the side of a hill. And it's like, man, I don't want to be doing this. Why are you... But I'm married to her, so I have to. So,
I'm sorry.
But that allowed me to see a lot more of the game that I hadn't gotten to the first couple times, and just kind of her enthusiasm about it rubbed off on me more.
And now you're officially hyped for Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm going to go into it with a clean slate, a good attitude, like I did the first time.
Yeah,
I really wanted to like it the first time, and I'm hoping that the next iteration will, I hope it will work for me. And
See, I feel like I'm a little nervous for it, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do they recapture that Breath of the Wild experience or build on it? I'm afraid we're going to get like a Skyward Sword situation where it just doesn't work for me in some ways.
But it's so based on what we've seen on Breath of the Wild. It's one of those things of like, I don't know what they could mess up here. If they went really
I feel like
hard.
We've seen very little, though. I watched Link stand on a platform in the sky one too many times.
Yeah, it's...
Like, where is the gameplay?
It's kind of... I've been like, if it was truly just like a shuffled Breath of the Wild, would I like it? You know, would I be totally happy with it? And I genuinely don't know the answer. Like, maybe, because I constantly think about, like, I wish I could just erase my experience of Breath of the Wild and play that again for the first time. So if this is a chance to do that, but like, who knows? It
is weird because Breath of the Wild, I think, is one of the greatest games of all time. It was my favorite game in 2017, but there's definitely a part of me. And by the way, I am officially noting for the record that we also think it's funny that we've been talking about the sequel to Breath of the Wild and our most anticipated games of the year for the last 3 years. But this year, it seems like it's actually happening on May 12th, 2023.
Or Kyle's going to eat his hat and or butt.
Or Kyle will eat his butt, as he made very clear in last week's episode of the podcast. But there is a part of me that is wondering, like, God, is it just... will the magic hit me again? Like, it felt so new last time around that if it's a cooler, more complicated, technically version of Breath of the Wild, I worry that I'm not going to be head over heels about it, and that stresses me out. But the thing that I think is going to be absolutely wild, and that I'm really banking on with this game, is like the time manipulation stuff. The little teases that they've had in the trailers. If it's just the physics playground or multiplicative gameplay, as Nintendo put it, of Breath of the Wild, but then you combine the ability to rewind all these things throughout time, that could I don't know, part of me is just like, I'm hoping for some really wild creative videos, I guess, of people almost breaking the game with the opportunities that afford. So I'm hoping they push hard in that systems level zaniness and less so in the, I don't know, I say narrative, but not that I didn't like the narrative stuff in Breath of the Wild. I just think that's also a formula that's tough to repeat of here's these memories that you'll discover at the end, you know?
I'm weirdly nervous about the tech, which is another thing that like feels like it doesn't make sense, but it's like Breath of the Wild is still the best looking Switch game, like one of the most kind of technically impressive games on that platform. And so it's like, well, they did it once and I would be happy if it just looked like that again in like a different map. But it's just, it's kind of like, I don't know, the Switch is just old and underpowered now. And even it just kind of like, I don't know, I'll be happy if they manage to get the kind of same level of visual performance and fidelity and whatever as the first game. But it feels like if they're pushing themselves harder, they're going to run into those Switch walls harder.
If the world's even bigger.
I think early Switches are really going to chug with this new game. Because early Switches, like original release Switches, I'm already hearing reports that like games are starting to not run as well. It's just...
Well, it should be the same innards as current stuff, isn't it?
I think, but it's just old, right? Like the technology gets old, your Switch gets old.
Joy-Con's going to drift like crazy.
The Joy-Cons will drift.
It is weird. Yeah, I think that's going to be a big ding for reviews is like, even with Breath of the Wild, it's like, oh, the frame rate would drop. But 5 years later, when that frame rate drops, even if it's exactly the same frame rate as Breath of the Wild, I think people are going to notice it a lot more and be less forgiving. It's weird to talk about the sequel to the greatest game of all time and we're all worried about it. But that's kind of the vibe, right?
Well, we've been waiting for so long too, right?
Yeah. So
it's like, will it pay off? ?
Yeah. Joe Stone, by the way, wrote in from the community over there on Patreon and they asked, hey, is Tears of the Kingdom automatically going to be Game of the Year? Should we stop this debate right now?
Well, it'll definitely be Family Game of the Year.
Oh, Keely's.
So you can have that one.
Oh, Keely's.
You don't know where that plot goes. You saw that like dead mummy hand. It's gonna be a scary game.
Dehydrated Ganon.
I will say yes. I would be shocked if Tears of the Kingdom isn't Game of the Year.
I mean, the concept that we should just, it's like, okay, it's over now, and the game is still 4 months away. Like, I thumbed up that question, Hanson, because it annoyed me.
Really? Because you think it's still...
Yes.
You think any game on this list stands a shot at Game of the Year more than Tears of the Kingdom?
I'm sure not, because I know how Zelda fans are. But how about we wait till it actually comes out and see if all of you feel reassured by what you play, since you all obviously have your own, like, concerns about it.
Okay.
Am I the only one who was awake for the last 5-minute conversation that you guys all just had about, like, I certainly
it was
hope
going
it's
to be number one. Don't put me in that category, okay?
Yeah,
okay.
I've got other games.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. Jacob Keller, I think you're out of line for saying it's automatic Game of the Year. Come on, man, be cool. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, May 12th. A lot of people naturally are saying, hey, do the deepest dive on Zelda. We think that would be hard to do. Like, the magic of a Breath of the Wild style game, which I guess we can say now, is go anywhere, do anything. So the idea of like doing a deepest dive on it, I don't think would work.
Go to these two sacred beasts and then stop.
Yeah, that sucks. That sucks so bad. So we'll probably have a lot of bonus discussions about Tears of the Kingdom and stuff, but not really in a strict deepest dive format. But Sarah, what do you got? What's going to be better than Tears of the Kingdom?
My probably most anticipated game for 2023 is Baldur's Gate 3,
Ooh.
which I played back in 2020. And they only had, like, it was kind of early access, like really, really buggy, and it crashed a lot. And it wasn't all there. It ended really soon, but it was so amazing.
So you played
even
through
though
all
it was
of that
crashing,
stuff?
even though I was like struggling, the glitches were out of control. It was amazing.
Wow. Like I knew a lot of people dabbled in it. I booted it up for a little bit as well, but you actually played through like to the end point of the content for 2020 at least.
Yeah.
That's impressive. What was amazing about it?
I was going in thinking that it was going to be like Divinity Original Sin 2, which is not. It's not. So if that's what you think it's like, you have to like reset your expectations. But it plays a lot like D&D. So you have to do roles for like chatting with other characters, for like looting chests. Everything's like a dice roll that they'll do for you. Even like attacks in battle is kind of like a dice roll.
Yeah.
Which was fun, but you know, it's not fun if you're like constantly rolling poorly and just failing everything. But it still had, you know, it had a very compelling story. It felt like you could really make your character how you wanted to make your character. You could explore the world how you wanted to explore the world. You could basically, similarly to Divinity Original Sin 2, choose the way you wanted to experience a lot of the story. Like how you wanted to play, the person you wanted to be. So yeah, I can't wait because they added a bunch of stuff to it between when I played it in 2020 and now.
Yeah.
So I'm hyped.
Yeah, and just if you have only played Divinity Original Sin or like seen Larian's games in the past, like, and you haven't paid attention to Baldur's Gate 3, you should look at some of this gameplay, because especially just like the way they were presenting the story, the camera work, it's no longer kind of the isometric perspective for the more narrative heavy sequences, at least. Like it looks more like Witcher 3 than you're probably thinking. But yeah, that's a good call. I think this is going to be huge. It's officially launching August 2023. And God, you remember? I didn't play enough of it, but like Divinity Original Sin 2, when that game released, when was that? 2018, something like that? But the people that love that game were so gaga over it. Like, I'm just imagining that groundswell again. I'm already imagining, Sarah, for the 210s for 2023, I think you're going to be the one that like is screaming, you idiots, it's Baldur's Gate 3. Why aren't you paying attention to Baldur's Gate 3?
I just checked my Divinity Original Sin 2 gameplay time, and it's 132 hours.
Jesus Christ.
Of Divinity Original Sin 2.
That feels like one of those games where it's like, if we had all played it, we would all collectively agree. Like, yeah, best game of all time. But it's still like, well, I haven't, and I'm probably not going to, so I'm going to keep saying that it's something else.
Yeah, that's awesome. I assume you're not a Baldur's Gate 2 fan back in the day or anything, Sarah?
No, Divinity Original Sin 2 is the only one that I've played.
Sure. How often do you play D&D in your life?
Every other Sunday.
Really?
For like the past, I finished a D&D campaign. It was like a year-long campaign. And I actually finished it with my friends.
That's very impressive. Like
Thank
the same
you.
group
I know,
the
it's a
entire
millennial
time?
dream. It's just to finish a D&D campaign.
Is this why you're so judgmental about everybody else's social gatherings? Is because you're like so
No.
efficient and militant about like, you have the same group every other Sunday. It's the best. We can't be topped.
No, it's just, that's what I like to do with my friends.
It does sound good.
Have snacks and play D&D.
That sounds good. Jacob, what do you got for 2023?
Let's kick it off with a big one. Hollow Knight Silksong.
Why? Why, Jacob Keller? What is it about this game that has the internet losing its goddamn mind?
Hollow Knight is an unbelievably good game. Like a game that I feel like just gets every year we look back and we're like, gosh darn, Hollow Knight is a good game. And it really feels like, I guess the thing with Silksong is like, there are no doubts in my mind. You know, it's like there is just like nothing about Hollow Knight is accidentally good. You know, every choice is just so considered that it's like, I really just can't see a world where they, you know, I could see it being as good, maybe missing a little of the magic of your first playthrough of Hollow Knight, but it's just like, it is going to be an unbelievably solid game because they've spent 6 years making it. When did Hollow Knight came out? Same year as Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, 2017 then, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, it's just going to be great. I have no doubt.
I love that. Yeah, and they just say, what, 2023? They haven't given a specific date.
They show, here's the important bit, is there was that Xbox presentation last year, and they said every game here is going to come out within the next year. And I think that was in like June or something. And they showed Hollow Knight there. So theoretically, coming out within a year of that presentation.
That's interesting. I was looking, as we talked about last week, I was looking for games to play on my Steam Deck. And I was like, oh, should I go back to Hollow Knight? Should I give that one its chance again? I tried it back in the day, but I think just the difficulty scared me away at a certain point. But maybe now post Elden Ring, I'm like so good at all games, I could go back and be really good at this.
I think you'd be, I mean, it's like, it's a hard 2D game, but it's not like, it's not, you know, super punishing.
Okay, good enough for me. Hollow Knight Silksong. Let's see. One that I'm very much looking forward to next year is, now this is confusing. This year is Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Sarah, remember hearing about this thing? Remember learning about this one?
Yeah. It's
confusing because there's a couple of them. Because there's Like a Dragon Ishin, which is coming out February 21st. And that's the one that is in the past. Yep. That's the remake of the PS3 game. But then Like a Dragon Gaiden is the one that has Kiryu continuing his story post 6 and is kind of a weird bridge between 6 and 7 is how they're pitching this, if you recall this. Sarah, I know you're sensitive.
This man does not age.
He doesn't age.
Kiryu has looked great. This man, I think he's supposed to be in his like 50s or 60s now.
Unbelievable.
He looks incredible. He looks incredible.
Do you feel, we were just talking last week on the podcast about you going through the entire series and stuff, and you're on Yakuza 5 right now?
Yeah.
Do you think by the time we get to Like a Dragon Gaiden, which is probably going to be later 2023, you'll have finished 6 at least?
I hope so.
Okay. All right.
The games are they're getting longer. They're adding more characters to every number. The characters go up.
This is why I'm excited about this game in particular. Partly because I've only dabbled, like I started 0 and I started 6. But I love Like a Dragon 7, if you will. And so I don't really have that much experience with this character. And so what I'm excited about, not really.
Oh my God.
And so I'm excited with this because they say it's like a shorter Yakuza experience. So the idea of a Yakuza game, but they say this one's going to be like 10 to 20 hours. And also it'll help fill me in on who Kiryu is, at least at this point in his life. It sounds like the perfect recipe. It's going back to kind of the brawler angle. It's not going to be a turn-based RPG and whatnot, but it's like, for 10 to 20 hours, I'll mash a button. I'll beat somebody up. I'm fine with that.
It is cool to think about. I mean, last week we were talking about how, like, because the games are so big, they have, the cutscenes are so variable quality, but it's like, if they focus that into a 20-hour game rather than like an 80-hour game, the kind of like the consistent highs they could hit seems like it would just be off the charts.
Totally. But then if that team is also working on Ishin this year, and then also working on Like a Dragon 8.
How many Yakuzas they're making this year.
They make so many dang games.
It's unbelievable. But I think this game would make a good deepest dive. I don't want to promise anything, but I think that'd be fun for whenever this hits.
Are you telling me to get to work? Are you cracking the Yakuza whip, Ben?
No, you stream what you want to stream, Sarah, but there is a part of me that's like, oh, that'd be really cool. I feel like Yakuza would be a good series to tackle for the deepest dive, and this is like a nice middle ground for everybody because we don't need to dive into 7 stuff if you get to just this point, Sarah. So I'm not cracking the whip, but I'm very menacingly taking a whip and setting it on the table in front of both of us, I think is what's happening. Let's see. Jeffem, you want to go for another one?
Yeah. From this point on, I'm in that territory of like, I don't know how.
Why are you so defeated?
But I just want them to be good. It's my next one's Starfield. It's probably the game I'm most excited for, even though it's a Bethesda game, and I feel like I don't know how. I don't know if we have hit yet, or I don't know how we haven't hit that peak of like, hey, you're not the only ones doing open world games now. You gotta like polish these things up, and you still haven't managed to do that yet. And so I don't know what the reception's going to be like to this one. It's so, it's like No Man's Sky level of ambitious, which just seems like disaster in the making, but.
It is weird, like hearing Todd Howard talk about it, the way he talks about how many planets and solar systems you can go to. He's like, well, once we made the tech, you can go to 5, and it's not that different from going to 5 million. So I forget what the exact number is, like 10,000 different solar systems, something like that.
Yeah, that doesn't instill me with any kind of confidence.
Yeah, it feels like everyone heard that and was like, oh no. Like, I don't know anyone who was excited by hearing that you could go to 10,000 planets.
Right.
Yeah.
It is, I'm fascinated by your tone, Jeffem. Like, Skyrim, one of the greatest games of all time, has sold 400 million copies, and now, I guess, Fallout 4 and a little bit of Fallout 76.
He's protecting his heart, Ben.
Stop
He's
it.
protecting himself emotionally.
Open that heart.
It's also like, I think Morrowind is the only one of those games that I've beaten. I never beat Skyrim. I play each one for like 100 hours just doing random stuff, like simming my life in this weird open world. And I want to do that in space now. And so it could be a complete disaster, but that doesn't necessarily mean I won't have fun for the amount of time that I feel like I need to get a good experience out of it. And for some reason, like Bethesda, whether they've earned it or not, it's a company that every time a game comes out, I just want it. I want them to bridge that gap and be like, oh yeah, this is really knocking the socks off me. Mm-hmm. I know it's not going to happen, but I'm happy to root for them every time, I guess. I don't know. It's like that. It's almost like the kind of Nintendo nostalgia, except Nintendo successfully does it every time, I suppose you could argue. But it's like that. It's that cache of, I played Morrowind was the first open world game I played. It like blew my mind, and I'm still like, they're still good in my book because of that.
Yeah, it is weird. Like early on, I think one of the first interviews Todd Howard did about this game, it was with, I was like, New Yorker. It was with some non-games media outlet, but he said, he describes the game as just Skyrim in space. Like he just very succinctly put it like that. And it was weird. Like, I think there's a critical blowback of like, if it's just Skyrim in space, we're gonna have a problem here, bud. But I think there are dozens of millions of players that are like, sign me up. That sounds great. And so if it is just that, Jeffem, and it's going to be janky, I bet the shooting's not going to be great. I bet the ship combat's not going to be great, but fine. Are you going to be happy?
You're describing Fallout, and it's like I have had a tail off with Fallout as well. Even as those games have gotten like more competent from the shooting, I still think I had the most fun with Fallout 3, even though you couldn't play that one as a shooter. Right. But it's just, so I don't even know where I'm going to land on it when it comes out. But I want to see what they do with the systems. I want to see what their next iteration is of, like, they always make system heavy gameplay and lots of different weird progression and things like that. And I just want to,
I feel like there is just stuff where it's like, no matter how the game, plays or whatever, like, imagine how good the soundtrack is going to be. Like, imagine how there are kind of certain things that are like, even with all Bethesda's whatever, it's like that game is going to deliver things that only a game that cost $300 million and has been in development for like 8 years can deliver, and that is just kind of exciting. And so stuff like the soundtrack, stuff like, the design of the major planets, I think, is going to be, pretty jaw-dropping. I am just curious as someone who likes really expensive things to like see where that money has gone in this case.
Yeah. Although it's worth noting on the soundtrack that, they're not going to have Jeremy Soule, who has been composing most of their games. Yeah, he was canceled hard. So now
monster.
Yeah, so Einan Zur is composing this one, and he Dragon Age.
Yeah, who did like
stuff.
Dragon Age.
Yeah. So I'm sure it'll be great. What's your next one, Sarah? What do you got?
I'm so excited to announce that 2023 is finally the year that my nostalgia is being sold back to me. And now I know how like you guys feel. I never understood. I never knew the feeling of like having my nostalgia like resold to me.
Yeah.
But so for 2023, this is kind of a twofer. We're getting the Tales of Symphonia remaster, which was a big game for me growing up. And then we're also getting a Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life, which was also a huge game for me growing up.
Yeah.
Not a good game. But if I could just hear like the little tune again and then walk around with my watering can, I think I would be happy. I think I could find peace in 2023.
Which one, if you had to choose between those, which one are you looking forward to more, do you think?
Probably Tales of Symphonia, because I'd like to replay it with my new attitude and see if it holds up. Because I really liked that game.
Me too.
But like I haven't liked any Tales game since. So now I'm like, was I just like a teenager and my brain hadn't like fully developed when I played that game, and now I need to like re-look at some things? I
mean, I was in high school when I played it, so my brain wasn't the best either at the time, but I really liked it when it originally came out. I finished that game.
So now I feel like I need to just double check. I need to check in with myself and with Tales of Symphonia and make sure that it was still good.
It's going to be a fun nostalgia trip. There was a part of me that was just... I don't know, wincing ahead of time, but I went to How Long to Beat for Tales of Symphonia. It's like, it's like a 45-hour game. We're like,
had 2 discs.
I don't think I'm getting through this full remaster of this thing, but I'm very happy that it's happening, even if fans are upset that it's going to be running at 30 and all that fun stuff. Story Seasons. This is Harvest Moon on GameCube, a remake of that thing. The Story Seasons overall quality, like since the name shift and all that stuff, in my mind, it's kind of dropped off, but do you have faith that if they're just remaking those basics, it'll be all right?
I mean, I don't think they're adding anything to it. They're pretty much just like repackaging it and giving it back to me. And these are like, this is like the stick and rock of like farming games. Like we've come so far. We're basically going back to like prehistoric times.
Yes.
Where you have to like A Wonderful Life was one of the first and only Harvest Moon games where you had to actually consistently impregnate your cow in order to get milk. And as a child, I didn't realize that like you had to like to get milk from a cow, it had to be pregnant and then you had to take the baby away. And they made me do that in that game.
Really?
They made me put the baby cow in an igloo. And it was too real. I had to pay to get my cow knocked up every so often when she would just stop giving milk. So it's, I learned a lot from that game.
Yeah, it's not a wonderful life, but it's a real life, damn it.
It's a real life, a real look at farming.
When's that thing coming out again?
No clue.
Summer 2023 apparently is what YouTube's telling me here. That's nice. I'm very curious about both those things. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to bring in folks who are nostalgic about the GameCube in a big way. It's like, now it's your time to shine. Welcome.
I'm so
to
excited.
The new age. Give us money, you hack.
Sell me my nostalgia, please.
That's right. What do you got, Jacob Geller? What else are you excited about?
In addition to being the year that sells Sarah's nostalgia back to her, it's also going to be the year that answers the lies of P.
Oh, boy.
Yay.
Yeah, all right, here we go. Lies of P time, everybody.
So this is, as everyone knows, the Bloodborne-esque game where you play Pinocchio or something. And it, I don't know. I'm sure we'll talk about the From games on this list later, but it's like, I like Dark Souls. I like Bloodborne. I will play another one of those. And this game really looks more than most other imitators to be like a good version of a one of those, with enough kind of weirdness that it's not just a carbon copy.
Have you gotten into any wannabe Souls games? I say with all due respect, like Lords of the Fallen or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, I've gotten into. I mean, now it's such a huge genre that it's almost, it's like there's so many games that are like kind of Souls-likes, but like I like Neo. I think those games are good. I played Remnant from the Ashes, which was like a Souls game with guns that people talked about. So I don't know, but it's like, yeah, I've played lots of Souls-likes and generally enjoy them. Hollow Knight is kind of a Souls-like.
Yeah. Liza P, I feel worried on behalf of everybody getting super excited about this. I feel like there's such a hunger for a new Bloodborne or Bloodborne on PC, Bloodborne on PS5. And I feel like a lot of that thrust is being directed at Liza P, where it's like, the publisher is NeoWiz, everybody. Like there's a lot of, not red flags, but question marks about Liza P. So even though the gameplay I do think looks good and looks like a solid take on Bloodborne, I don't want to get anybody's dreams smashed into dirt. So I'm just
too late. I'm dreaming.
Okay,
you
all right.
Can't bring me down.
I'm sorry, I forgot every game on this podcast is going to get a 9.5, and that's how we have to go in approaching these things. So, Liza P, everybody. So they just said 2023, I think, or is it maybe summer 2023? But curious about that thing for sure. Let's see. Oh boy, I don't know how to feel about this one. I feel a sense of guilt for being curious about this because it's Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Everybody.
Honestly, it's better than the other game that I thought you were going to say.
Okay, good. All right, maybe I'll get to that later. The Avatar game from the creators of The Division, Massive Entertainment, they've been working on this thing for quite a while. We don't know that much. Last we heard, it's coming out before March 2023. I would imagine at this point they'll just delay it and try and fill the gap year in the Avatar life between films and just have it released in the fall or holiday season or something. Jacob Keller, as a fellow fan of Avatar: The Way of Water, we see each other, and I'm curious how you're feeling about Frontiers of Pandora.
Honestly, it's like if they can get the music and the kind of general vibe of Pandora, it can be a dumb Ubisoft, collect 'em up game or whatever. Like it doesn't need to be innovative as an open world game if it does fulfill the just like, hey, you can run around those floating mountains and the Avatar theme will play. If it does that, I will be happy. Boy,
do I have a game for Xbox 360 for you, buddy, because they already released a version
Peter
of that.
Jackson's King Kong.
Well, I never played that old Avatar game. I guess it was pretty disappointing. But yeah, this one at least it's like, okay, the developers have a lot of experience now. In the trailers, it seems like they're kind of hinting at co-op stuff. So it is a dorky feeling. And I feel like Avatar is the ultimate, I don't know, dork stuff for boomers, but it's like I do want to just go run around that world, man. I want to find new tribes.
I do think there's a little problem because Avatar the movie looks like the best video game ever made. Sure. And so seeing like what an actual video game of it looks like is going to be like, well, I've seen these people in CGI already 100 times, and now it just looks much worse.
Right.
So I think that's kind of an uphill battle.
Yeah, the first pass render at the quality for Avatar: The Way of Water. But yeah, all they've really said, again, it's pretty light on details, but they're like, oh, in this game, you're journeying into the West. It's the Forbidden West, if you will, of the Avatar world. So, we'll see some new creatures. It feels they're going for it.
It looks like Horizon.
It does, yeah. We'll see. Sarah, did you see Avatar yet, Way of Water?
Nah.
Any interest?
No.
All right. Well, you're missing out on a big theatrical experience. Jeff, do you know about The Way of Water?
I'll stream it when it comes to something. Or maybe I'll Redbox it.
It's gonna be a bad movie then. You need to see it in the format which makes it an amazing movie.
Honestly, if I gotta go to a movie theater to make a movie good, I don't care. That's not a selling point for me. Like I get the spectacle. I'll go see Tarantino's next movie because I'll appreciate that, but I don't know. I was not a huge fan of the first Avatar, so
look, everyone makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. That's fine. Yeah. What else we got? Sarah, you got another one you want to throw out there?
We're kind of at like the We're at the Final Fantasy 16 part of my list.
Right. Does that
I
include
would
Final
say
Fantasy 16?
is what I would call it.
Okay.
Where I'm a little nervous. You know, I'm not completely sold on it yet.
We're all scared of everything.
I like the
Why
vibe
are we so
of this
afraid of
this
2023
episode.
games?
Sarah, this is a safe space. We're going to be open and honest. I like Final Fantasy a lot. I'm also a little worried about 16. I feel like I don't have a burning desire in my soul to chomp into this sucker yet. Because it's like,
There doesn't seem to be anything light about it. You know how like Final Fantasy games are like light and they're like kind of whimsical. Some of them. Maybe not 7. But like this game, it looks like I'm just going to be playing Final Fantasy Game of Thrones.
That's the thing.
And I'm not really interested what the Duke does with his ducal kingdom or whatever the hell, like is going to war with the West.
Right.
I'm here for like Moogles, Chocobos, Tonberries. I'm here for like, you know, magic. Like, woo, where's my like Disney castle?
Fun characters. That's the thing. It's like
not named Clive.
I think, everything here, it's Game of Thrones meets Devil May Cry is kind of the vibes from the trailers and stuff. Where it's like, well, obviously you got the summons in there. There's some good Final Fantasy goodness, but just other than the overall brand and kind of the Jacob Geller philosophy of they're pouring a gazillion dollars into this thing, so it has to be at least interesting. There's nothing that's speaking to my soul of Final Fantasy nerddom in what I've seen of 16 so far. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm just not dying in a way that I would expect for a new Final Fantasy. But
I also don't know what the gameplay looks like at all. You know, it's like every trailer has kind of been like big battles, and it's like, oh, you'll be able to summon a huge thing. And so it's like, I know what the summons will look like, but it's like, are you a guy that runs around in that game? You know, it's like, will there be like a big field that you can go do stuff in? Or is it, I have no idea.
You'll be a guy that runs around. And I'm curious, like as somebody who loves stylish action games, like specifically what you think of the combat, if they're going for more of that.
Yeah, because they've been edging in that direction. And I mean, I love 7 Remake's combat, you know, and if they just pushed it even more stylish from there, I would be happy.
Yeah, that seems to be the direction for sure. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I don't think is coming in 2023. Their official messaging.
I'm going to forget what happened in the first one.
I'll tell you.
Polygon has it on their list of exciting games for whatever, but
they're known liars. So what it is they said that it's coming in the winter, and so it's like, man, if they're releasing 16 in the summer, they're not going to be in that much of a rush. I feel like winter could mean March of 2024. If there's snow on the ground in Minnesota, then technically it's still that winter. So, I mean, I would love it. I would love to play Rebirth. The part that I pause on, though, is not too long ago, they released a video about like, hey, Square Enix in 2023, or thanking everybody for 2022 or something. And Katase, I think it was, the producer, in that he said that like 2023 is going to be our biggest year yet. Like, please look forward to new. He said something that implied that Rebirth would be launching in 2023. I think it was just that idea.
They also said there was going to be a big Final Fantasy XIV announcement in 2023, which I was wondering is the next expansion. So I guess we're all just jockeying for like the Square announcement.
Yeah, who can get the marketing push at what time? But I'm just going to bank in my heart for Rebirth being a 2024 game, and then I'll be pleasantly surprised. But maybe 16 will keep us entertained for so long we won't even miss Rebirth. Okay, what do we got? Who's up next? Who wants to go? Step right up. What do you got?
I got one with major caveats, I guess. Fitting
Again? I cannot believe this.
Look, I'm gonna say the name of a game, and then I'm gonna say why it's on this list, and don't judge me until I say it.
Okay.
Until I get through the whole thing.
Poker face, everybody.
It's Suicide Squad. And I'm putting it on this list solely because I want to see if they actually let you kill off Superman and a bunch of other DC heroes. If they do that, I will be 100% content with that game.
So it's okay. So it's the Justice League turned evil, but you actually want a moment of like stabbing Flash and watching the light drain out of his eyes. You won't be satisfied.
His little leg kicks get slower and slower.
That's the premise of the game, right? I'm not mistaken in that. Like you play as the bad guys, and yes, Brainiac took over the good guys, but they're coming to you to stop the bad guys and And I want that to mean actually killing them. If they do that, that would be a super interesting game.
So not just like cutting their fingers off.
That is the subtitle of the game.
I think it's going to be lightly torturing the Justice Squad. Like with
I
the
think
finger
they
stuff.
are 100% going to wuss out, which is why I'm so... Which is why the caveat exists for being on this list. I think they're going to wuss out, but I hope that they won't, and it would be super cool if they don't.
Especially because this is technically the same universe as Arkham. And so the idea of like, you know, I mean...
Kill Batman.
But like... They'd be so brutal.
I think I read something that said Batman's like the one good guy that isn't infected in this world or something like that. And
well,
so I don't even know if he'll be like... If you'll be fighting him.
I mean, and it's like Rocksteady does caveat kill characters in a meaningful way.
I mean,
you know,
they
like
killed the Joker. That's huge. Yeah.
Arkham games. Well, it's like they kill him, and then it's like, well, he's still there for the entire next game.
Yeah, but he's dead. He's still technically there.
I'm excited for that game.
Yeah, it's mostly just the idea and the like hopeful promise of just make a one-off game where you can go out and you're killing these characters, and like every one of those deaths could just be a jaw-dropping moment of the year if they actually went through it.
Just over
and I don't think they will.
God of War 3-esque.
You know, I mean, something that might, and it's too late to pivot. I'm sure they had the plans. This game is just being polished at this point. The plans locked in a long time ago. But something that might add to that idea is, you know, with Warner Brothers, kind of the cinematic universe getting overhauled, James Gunn and his partner, I forget his name, how they want to unify the games and the movies and everything like that. Like, they're in kind of a clean slate mode for Warner Brothers games. So if they had to wrap up the Arkham universe or make some more concrete choices, maybe it's not impossible that they would kill everybody, but
we can all hope. That's what I'm doing here.
I'm also curious, you know, another thing that it's like probably too late to do anything, but like with everyone predicting and then being correct that Gotham Knights was going to be a total show, you know, of them being like, can we pull back on any of the annoying stuff that game did so that people can favorably compare us to Gotham Knights?
Yeah, I have faith in Rocksteady that the game will at least feel good to play. So I'm very curious.
Which Gotham Knights did not.
Yes,
so.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's a little rinky-dink one that I'm excited about. And it's the new Minecraft game, Minecraft Legends, which is, they're describing it as an action strategy game. But it seems like it's just going to be like a brutal legend. Like, hey, here's an RTS style game in the Minecraft universe and it has the weird cell shading and stuff like that. Maybe it's weird, but I'm excited about a company like Microsoft pushing an RTS, even if it's through an action lens and through the Minecraft lens. I think that's always exciting. Plus, so it seems like it's being co-developed by Mojang, the Minecraft people, but then the other developer for Minecraft Legends is Blackbird Interactive. Ever heard of them, Jeffem?
Should I have?
Probably not, but maybe Leo would remember. They made Hardspace Shipbreaker.
Oh.
So it's weird that those developers are moving on now and making the Minecraft RTS with Minecraft Legends, but it's coming in spring 2023 for that thing. Sarah, based on that face...
it's the way you say it. I say Mojang.
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard it pronounced Mojang.
I was trying to be cool. It probably is just Mojang, isn't it? No, I'm second guessing it. Let us know in the comments, everybody. All right, Jacob, what do you got?
How about a little game called Resident Evil 4 Remake?
You did it. You did your least favorite thing, Jacob. I was saying the little game. No,
that's my favorite thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's your favorite thing. I see.
I love doing that. I was as someone who when it was announced, I was very skeptical because more than 2 and 3, I was like, Resident Evil 4 plays like a modern game. I don't need this game with just like better graphics.
Yeah.
But everything that they have shown has represented what look like pretty significant and interesting gameplay. It's like they're shaking up gameplay in the ways that I want them to, and they're not shaking it up in ways that I don't want them to. And so it's like, I think it's going to feel novel, which is what I want.
Yeah, having, what was it, like the knife counter parry. There's I'm trying to remember the big beats of how they're actually changing.
Well, yes. So you can, they've got the like knife parrying the chainsaw, but like you can still shoot guys and then kick them, which is like the kind of cartoony version of Resident Evil 4 that I really like.
Yeah.
But then like stuff where it's like you're going to be playing as Ashley more, or Ashley's going to have kind of an adjusted character from the first one, I think is cool. I think they're going to do some interesting variations on the game that I've played 1 million times.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see it.
I'm really looking forward to it.
I wish they would put in the Wii motion controls, because having to I played Resident Evil 4 with like a Wiimote,
right, and
having to try to aim with the Wiimote just made it so much more frantic for me. I don't know. I really think it improved my gameplay. Like, it improved my gameplay experience.
Yeah.
It's just screaming, and you had to like slash with the knife.
And when you run away from the boulder, you have to go like
gotta like. It's amazing. They should put it back. Mostly, I'm excited that I can move and shoot at the same time.
It's gonna be a revolution,
which is something I refuse to get over. But
I won't do it, even if they let me. I'm gonna stand still.
I'll plant my feet.
Yeah, the way Daddy did it. Well, it is weird that like they are releasing some VR stuff for Resident Evil 4, not the entire game, but they said, I think, was it for PSVR 2, that there's gonna be some bonus content or something. So maybe that'll be a little bit like the Wii, Sarah. It'll scratch like a tiny itch.
Putting their games on VR. Because I don't want to play a VR horror game, and then they keep putting their games on VR, and people are like, will you play the VR version? It's like, no, I don't want to have a heart attack.
Yeah. I don't
want to have a mental breakdown.
Yeah, but do you want to get picked up by a Lady D?
Oh, I do.
Kinda.
Oh, and I do want to, when you're tied to like Luis, I want to be able to like look over my shoulder at him and whisper sweet nothings as Leon. I'll be like, Luis, I've always loved you.
He'll hear you. That's a new thing. Yeah, in the remake, he reacts to everything you blurt out at him.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this. I mean, I love that original game, but I have not played it since 2005. Like, I played it back to back, but that was coming up on 20 years ago, and so I feel so primed to go back to this game and have another just
that would
nostalgia.
Be an amazing game to do a deepest dive on.
Oh, way ahead of you. We talked about it in party chat, but I'd be surprised if we didn't do the deepest dive in Resident Evil 4, because it feels like it's just the perfect Venn diagram for everything. But we'll see how everybody's schedules is looking and all that fun stuff. All right. Another one that I'm looking forward to on the indie front for 2022 is a game that we talked about before, but it's called The Plucky Squire. Not a great name, but it looks unbelievable if you've never seen this thing. It is the game that the art director is James Turner, who was a Game Freak working on the Pokemon series for a long time, but he finally left Pokemon behind, and he's making this game that starts out, in the reveal trailer at least, it looks just like a beautiful, hand-drawn kind of 2D Zelda game that looks really creative. There's like weird punch-out segments. It just looks wild. And then the big moment is the 2D character leaves the book and then is a 3D character in a 3D bedroom. So it looks like this weird fusion of like old super creative variant of 2D Zelda meets Tinykin is kind of the overall vibe here for the Plucky Squire. But Devolver's publishing it. I am very curious how this thing turns out. But yeah, 2023 I think is the vague date they've given to the Plucky Squire. But I'm very much looking forward to it.
That 1 minute and 9 second trailer has already sold me on that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah,
so
cool.
And it's like, it's 1 minute, 9 seconds, and for the first 30 seconds, you're kind of like, eh. And then, so it's really like 30 seconds that sell you on it.
Yeah, and I forgot there's weird stuff in the 3D too, where it shows him like on the side of like a cup or something, and like this weird shooter sequence. It just looks wildly creative, and it looks like going to be a lot of different gameplay styles packed into that thing, so I'm looking forward to it. Who else has got one they're dying to talk about?
I've been
Spider-Man
looking forward
2.
to...
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2.
I'm sorry, Sarah. The correct answer was, and I'm checking my notes here, Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac, which they confirmed recently that they're shooting for the fall of 2023, right? We'll see if they hit it, but is there anything specifically about what they've said about Spider-Man 2 or shown about Spider-Man 2, Jacob Geller, or is it just, hey, Insomniac, they're really good and they're going to make a new game, the end?
Yeah, they're really good. I mean, I thought Miles Morales like represented a pretty big step up in terms of both gameplay and story from Spider-Man. So even if they're just like taking the lessons they learned from that and putting it in 2, and the fact that they'll both be in there, and you know, who knows. Yeah, I just, you know, even though Spider-Man started with him already being Spider-Man, it is exciting to just like jump into it where it's like, we don't need to do any place setting. You know, yep. Miles Morales is Spider-Man, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. That's it. Let's go. Yeah,
it's so weird that in the reveal blog, they said that it's a single player game, which I think from the trailer, it certainly feels co-op focused. And so I wonder how they're going to handle that. Do you think it's going to be like a Ratchet and Clank situation where you're just going to be swapping between these two main characters for the most recent Ratchet and Clank? I mean,
maybe probably. Like mission specific, and then in the open world, you can choose to be either one.
Yeah, but like managing the two different skill trees and stuff, I think it's doable. I'm curious to see how they handle it because they have so many Miles Morales fans at this point as well. Do you think Venom's still cool? I mean, Venom was cool when I was growing up, and then Spider-Man 3, it's like, all right, that's a ding. And then Venom was hype again for a while, and then the movies came out, and they certainly have
and made
their
him
fans.
Cooler.
I don't know. It's like, it is confusing just to get a read culturally on Venom. That said, I guess in the reveal trailer for Spider-Man 2, them showing Venom, it's like, oh, there's something there. I'm curious to see what the symbiote's going to be like.
I mean, that black suit is never not cool.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Spider-Man 2 is one of those games on my list where it's like, I'm weirdly not excited for it, but it's on my list because I know that when it comes out, I'm going to have a lot of fun playing.
It's going to be a blast.
It's one of those sequels where it's like, I don't know that I never ever need to play another Spider-Man game after playing just the first one. I didn't play Miles Morales.
Ooh, you should.
But I'd still like, and I should just go play Miles Morales right now, and I'll probably enjoy it, and then I'll enjoy Spider-Man 2 when it comes out because they're all great games. So.
Okay, so you're going to do that now, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if someone else can fill in for questions.
Yeah, we'll call up Jacob. Oh, crap, he's already here. I don't know. We're out of ideas.
Can I do another one to
Please do.
Dovetail off that same exact conversation? Star Wars Jedi Survivor is like the same camp of, I'm sure I'm going to enjoy that game. And even when I saw screenshots of what's his name? Cal Ripken?
Carl Ripken, yeah.
Carl. Yeah, Carl, right. It was like, it's going to be fun, but I just have,
yes,
I'm
so petty.
Unenthusiastic about going into it. Like, and part, I don't really mean that as like a, as a criticism of the game though. Like, I think the first game was such a good, like whole experience that I was satisfied when I was done with it. And it's just one of those games that I don't think I need a sequel to, but when I play it, I'm sure I'll enjoy it and be like, yeah, I'm glad I played this.
But just seeing Cal's face reminds you of how bored you were by that character in 2019?
Yes. I
hate the beard they gave him. It doesn't look good.
Yeah, that's not redeeming anything about that.
Yeah, what can he do? If he like shaved off his red hair, no offense to redheads, and then like, I don't know, wore a cool Star Warsy hat and got like Darth Maul tattoos.
And he named himself Cassian Andor.
Right.
Yeah. They could introduce a new sidekick in like the first 2 hours, and then they could kill off Carl, and then you'd play as the sidekick, the cooler sidekick for the rest of the game.
And the Jedi Survivor, surprise, it's not Carl. It's a different
There you
character.
go. Perfect.
Yeah, it's the person in that tank that they keep thinking that we want to see. Aren't you curious about the person in the tank? They've asked us repeatedly, and we said a little bit, and they just won't listen.
We played Jedi The Force Unleashed 2.
We get it. That thing, that's going to be good. And that's coming out damn soon. Is that also a March game? I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Well, I'll be damned. Sarah, you got another one?
Oh, yeah. We're kind of getting into my indie sections, but I feel like indie games have been really hard to track lately. It kind of feels like they get announced if they don't actually have, like, year dates. So for mine, it was Dredge, which I think I talked about before, but you play as a little fishing boat. And it's like a solo exploration adventure where you're a little fishing boat, but you're also uncovering, like, dark mysteries. So it feels very, like, misty pier, dark.
That's a really good name.
Yeah. Surprised it's not taken. That does seem cool. Is it like some Wind Waker nostalgia, you think? Feeling this like a dark take on just exploring in a big open?
Really a fan of like fishing games, but I think for me it's the like discovery aspect of it, like the uncovering something spooky I really like in games.
Yeah, that seems cool. Dredge is that thing. And have they set a release date or is it just 2023?
They said 2023 and they feel confident in 2023, but I have had to like cross out games on this list because they just won't give a year.
Yeah.
Or they still say 2022 and I'm like, you lie? You lie to me?
Just stop. It's like the bummer with like Sports Story where they said 2022 and they snuck it in just under the wire and
right
then based on the quality of the game tech-wise, seems like a lot of people are like, you should have just held it because this thing is pretty buggy. Have you been playing Sports Story, by the way, Jeffem?
Just a little.
Okay.
I haven't gotten far enough yet to come to any kind of conclusion or opinion of it.
Yeah, I had a bug early on, and I kind of gave up on Sports Story. And it seems like people in the community who stuck with it are also like, it's all right, but a lot of bugs. But it's fine. Just delay the game, everybody. If you promise it coming in 2022 or 2023, we're fine now. We're all sophisticated on the internet. You can just relax and release it whenever you're damn ready and don't run into a Sports Story situation. Let's see. Oh, on the, well, let's go back to AAA Town, if you all wouldn't mind. A game that I'm strangely looking forward to is Street Fighter VI, coming out June 2nd. I'm not a huge fighting game guy. I'm not even a medium-sized fighting game guy. There's been some fighting games I like. But this one, I can't think of a preview cycle that has been hotter than Street Fighter VI. And the fact that they've let so many people play it for all these betas, like...
You let me play it.
Exactly. Yeah, what'd you think of it?
Yeah. I thought that I really liked the controls for people who are new to fighting games.
Right.
So it plays a little bit more like Smash, and it's not as combo heavy. I thought it made me enjoy it, and it made me feel competent after about 10 minutes of trying it out.
Perfect.
But I don't know, because they don't really hold my attention fighting games, but I'll be rooting for it.
But have you looked into that single player stuff, the World Tour mode? Where it looks absurd. It's like running around the actual streets from Street Fighter and building your character and getting into random fights, and it looks wacky and has like Yakuza level weirdness at times. Like, I'm really looking forward to that.
But it's not Yakuza.
Well, it's not.
Probably more like a Splatoon where there's like, you can run around this little area and
it could
go shopping.
It could be, but I think just having them try something new in the single player arena, like I really enjoyed, surprisingly, the last couple Mortal Kombat games. I got into them in a big way, and a big part of that was just like, having that single player content to blast through as a way just to get used to this game. I really love it. So even if it's just a wacky, weird mode, I'm looking forward to Street Fighter 6's World Tour. But yeah, I'm curious about this. But yeah, everybody who's played it, especially like fighting game super fans, like all their streams, everyone's just like, this is the real deal. This feels like the perfect fighting game. This is what we want for the future of Street Fighter. So yeah, June 2nd is when that thing's coming out, and I'm very curious to see how it all lands. And hopefully this is the one that does it, and I'm super into fighting games forever then.
I have two games that both I kind of don't believe they're real, but both of them are scheduled to release this year. One, the less real one, is Palworld. That game that's like the Pokemon making like AK-47s.
So dumb.
Which is like, they've showed enough trailers. When I first saw the trailer for this, I was like, this is absolutely not a real game. But like, they've showed more trailers for it, and I still kind of don't believe it's real, but like the fact that Nintendo hasn't made them stop making it yet, and it's got as much attention as it has, makes me feel like at least it can legally release.
And is it just the absurdity of Pokemon with guns, or what's doing it for you?
Well, I mean, but the interesting thing about it is it looks enormous, like from the number of things that they are showing in the trailer, that it has everything that a Pokemon game has, but it also has like these weird combat situations where you're like using the Pokemon for their abilities while like shooting people, but then you can like
you kind of like enslave them, in a way, and they work in your factories.
It has
for
like
you.
Factory building, but maybe they're breaking out of the factories. But like, I don't know, the ambition is there. I just think it's kind of not a real game.
Yeah, Palworld. And we should note that in the similar vein, Doka V in the realm of.
I was going to say, how are you feeling about that?
Well, I guess it's 2024 now, so we can hold all of our judgment for Dokkan V until 2024.
And it'll definitely come out then.
Yep.
The other one, which is going to come out and soon, is Atomic Heart.
Yeah.
Which is a game that I wrote a preview for when I was an intern at Game Informer, and it had already been announced like 2 years before that.
Oh, wow.
But I just feel like almost like Palworld, every time I've seen a trailer for that game, I've been like, that's not gameplay. Like, it's like there are just too many discrete animations, and like it looks like a BioShock pre-rendered cinematic trailer.
Right.
And all of the trailers look like that. So either it's going to be a game of incredibly high animation quality, or they're kind of concealing what looking like it actually feels like.
Yeah.
Or what playing it feels like.
Yeah, I'm really curious. Like, it's a Ukrainian developer, right? And not, you can just combine everything, but that makes me think of just like the Metro team. And it's like, well, technically they're amazing. Maybe there's some talent that migrated over to this studio for they're in the same area.
But like, it's been in development for so long.
Yeah. Atomic Heart. If you had to predict it, I know it's your favorite thing in the world is that Metacritic score. If you had to predict the Metacritic score for Atomic Heart, where are you putting it?
7.5.
7.5. Okay.
I think that it's going to be. Everyone's going to say the world is amazing. Technically, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, I think that seems like a fair bet. I ran into this weird scenario recently where, just speaking about how good that game looks, where I upgraded my PC over the winter break, which was a fun experience. But after all that, I had this weird moment of like thinking, what game do I run to really push it to its limit? And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the equivalent of Crysis is now. You know, like it was for so many years.
Any cream of the steam game that is like, for some reason, 36 gigabytes.
Right. Okay. So there's a game.
And you don't know why exactly?
There's some weird, Bitcoin mining happening in the background.
Yep.
That's how you push modern PCs. But like I looked at a list, some site had like the games to push your computer in 2022. And it was like Ride 4, which was like some motorcycle racing game from 2020. So I got that and I was like, yeah, it's all right. It's not blowing my mind in a huge way. I've played good looking racing games before. But yeah, I got a 3080, Sarah.
Wow.
Are you happy with it?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was weird to like talk to somebody at Micro Center there about like, do I go for the 4080? And it's like, I don't think there's a reason to realistically at this point. But on the
and we brag to everyone that we live by Micro Center. We've been blessed.
That's right.
I'm jealous.
The best. It is the best. But the biggest game changer with the new PC, which 64 gigs of RAM. I really just overhauled everything except for the drives. But the big game changer is like the fans. I replaced all the fans. I cannot even tell that this PC is on. It is dead quiet. And I wrote this down just for all the dorks out there. Noctua NF F12 PWM. Noctua NF F12. Those are like the fans that I got. They blow my mind. Like multiple times I've crawled down to the case just to make sure that they're actually spinning, because it is just radio silence. And it's like, God, I could have just done this on my old PC and it would have felt like a new PC, just to go from some old clunker to absolute silence for a PC running. But it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun, Sarah. Especially when you go the coward's way out and you didn't build it yourself. But I just went there and I was like,
did the Micro Center people build it for you?
They did.
That's very cute. Did they pick out the fans for you and everything?
They did. Yeah.
That's adorable.
Krillboy says, did Ben buy the ugly brown and tan ones? Yes, that's exactly what they were. And the guy even selling it to him, he's like, they're good, but they're like brown and tan and they look gross. I'm like, I don't care. Give it to me. So I'm very happy for that.
You were like, it sits... Oh wait, it's under my desk. I don't look at it.
How's your PC doing, Sarah?
It's good. It's good.
What graphics card do you have these days?
I only have a 3070.
Oh my God.
So you're a step up from me.
That's disgusting. Yeah, no wonder Cream of the Steam stuff doesn't run well. Come on.
Yep. So if only it was 3080.
Just imagine. What else are we missing? What other big games that we haven't hit yet?
I got a not big game.
Yeah.
It's the one that only I'll care about, and it's Blood Bowl 3.
You weirdo. We like it. We like it.
I like it, and honestly, like, Games Workshop is the publisher of the tabletop game, and no one has any confidence in Games Workshop for what they do. But I like it because it's such a weird and unique take on what is essentially just a turn-based kind of tabletop strategy game. Like the rules of football are perfect for making a weird turn-based game out of, because they're so convoluted to begin with. And it's like, okay, you got to get downs, and you got to, like, how are you going to pass the ball? And you're moving your characters all around the field, but then you're also murdering each other because they're orcs and elves and whatever. And I'll play it, and I'll be the only one who plays it and has fun with it, and that's okay with me.
I want you, when you're playing Blood Bowl 3, I want you to take a picture of the first big smile you have on your face and send it to us, please.
Okay.
That's all I ask.
And then you'll show it to us at the Game of the Year discussions, in like a PowerPoint, and you'll be like, this is how I
If that doesn't get it on the 210s, I don't know what will.
Yeah. Just slowly zoom out more and more on the photo, and it'll just climb up the 210s as we're seeing that frickin' grin on your face, man.
A couple to just rattle off.
Yeah.
Armored Core, I feel like there's not that much to even say about it because we don't know anything more than when we last saw the trailer. But, like, I'm really excited about that game because it's a From game.
And I mean, since then, I think IGN's done the interviews over here. We talked about it on the podcast, but they very much said, like, cool it. Don't think about it as a big old Soulsborne game. Like, it's still level based. There's going to be big bosses, but it's not going to be.
Also, they said in that they're going to have a posture breaking system, which got me so hype because can you imagine the animation? It's like posture breaking was what you did in Sekiro before you like did the death blow. It's like, imagine what a mech doing a death blow to another mech looks like. It's going to blow my mind. Also, I haven't cared about this series in a while, but Assassin's Creed Mirage, theoretically a smaller Assassin's Creed, which to me sounds cool.
Yeah, kind of that same appeal as like a Dragon Gaiden. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm more intrigued by that, just knowing that it's a smaller game, even though I liked what I played of Valhalla, but it got to that Xenoblade level of like, there's no way I can finish this. So at a certain point, I'm just throwing in the towel completely. Those are good ones. I'm looking forward to a game called Arc Raiders, which we saw at the Game Awards 2 years ago now, but it's a bunch of former DICE talent, kind of the leads of DICE working on Battlefield. They left and they formed Embark Studios. And it's that third-person co-op, free-to-play shooter that has like the 70s aesthetic, but it seems cool. And like just the pedigree of the team, I'm ready for this one to surprise a lot of people with it being surprisingly solid. And they're releasing another game. I think they did a test for it, so I'm assuming it's coming in 2023, but it's called The Finals. Jeff, I don't know if you saw this, but it feels kind of like more of a test of their tech before they release Arc Raiders, but they're pushing destruction in a big way in The Finals. And so, it's like them trying to rekindle some of that Bad Company magic in a free-to-play game that's co-op. I think it could be cool. So Arc Raiders is one that I'm looking forward to. And then The Finals is the name of that other one. What else we got? Mop it up. Anybody else got some little small ones?
There's that game that looks like a Kojima game, but it's not.
Yes.
Called Pragmata.
Yes, I had that
which
on the
is
list.
another game that I kind of don't think is real, but at the same time, I do want to play it.
Totally. Yep, that's a Capcom game. I'm very curious to see what that thing is actually like. People in the Backstage Pass here are yelling about Sea of Stars, which is that throwback kind of Game Boy Advance RPG from the developers of The Messenger. That's coming mid-2023, they've said. On the indie front, Mina the Hollower from Yacht Club, the next game from the creators of Shovel Knight. That's coming out in December of 2023. Pikmin 4 is coming out. Diablo 4 is coming out. Forspoken and Dead Space are coming in January, towards the end of January, which is mind-boggling. Suikoden 1 and 2, those remasters, it should be interesting. Tchia, like Tchia.
Oh yeah, that game looks really cute.
It does look really cute. Yeah, I'm really curious about that one. That's the one that's a little... Sarah, how would you describe Tchia again?
It looks like Wind Waker.
It is a little Wind Waker,
but it's sort of like if you got to just stay on the first island and then protect it from environmental destruction.
Right, and then also it looks like...
If you stayed on outside island and never left.
Right, and your grandparents lived a happy life.
Well, and then they were dying because the corporation was polluting the waters.
Right. But then also in Tchia, you're like, you can take over other animals, it looks
Can you like turn into a seagull or
Yeah,
something?
there's
you,
some...
like, you can like take over other animals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited about that thing. Curious how it shakes out. And then Alan Wake 2 is coming in 2023, so Kyle can be very excited about that. And probably GoldenEye will be re-released in 2023, so I think this is going to be a good game and a good year, everybody. All right. Jeff, do you know how this whole thing operates?
It's patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's.
That's right. And where do you type that in, though?
On your computer keyboard?
That's right. That's right, everybody. Find the tier that's right for you. Patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Thank you to everybody who let us hit our cozy holiday feast goal over there on Patreon. We are forever indebted to you. And we're going to be streaming that in the back half of January, just a reminder. But Sarah's going to eat so much. She's going to spill all over her bib. We're promising that for the cozy.
Wait, there's going to be bibs? I don't remember hearing about this.
Honestly, we haven't really brainstormed it yet, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think bibs would be funny.
What are we eating, like wings?
I don't know. We also don't know what we're going to eat. Just the coziest food. I don't know what exactly that is.
It would be funny if it was only wings.
Appetizers.
4 buckets of wings.
That sounds great. Thank you to some of MinnMax's biggest supporters, people like HelloFresh. Speaking of food, I don't know if you know of HelloFresh. They want you to know that with HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why, don't forget, it's America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh rules. They're so easy to use, and my wife is trying to get me more into cooking, and it turns out HelloFresh is like the easiest way to do it because you can't mess up, really. And they ship you the ingredients all in like pre-portioned little bags, so you don't have to mix and match all of them in one big shipment. So they sent over a bunch of more food. So Sarah, if you had to choose between these, which one would you cook first? Yogurt marinated chicken with garlic sauce, 1-pan mango salsa pork tacos, or meatloaves with a sweet chili glaze. What would you go for?
I'd probably go for the tacos first.
That's what I did. I did tacos, then I did the chicken, then I'll probably have the meatloaf tonight. But just delightful. Easy to make. Sarah, easy to make with this HelloFresh, I tell you.
I know, I've used HelloFresh.
Hey, I'll be damned.
I learned that a lot of things, for some reason, have sour cream in them. Mm-hmm. And it's delicious.
That's right. And there's always a dash of salt in everything. You've got New Year's goals, and HelloFresh is here to help you achieve them, they say. Skip the grocery store and take control of your time and budget with delicious recipes delivered right to your door. And HelloFresh's latest line of meals include robust flavors and filling portions, and they're ready in less than 15 minutes. Enjoy taste and quality done quick with recipes like, Jeff, I dare you not to salivate. Recipes like a falafel power bowl, seared steak and potatoes with béarnaise sauce, Southwest pork and beans and bean burritos. There's everything available there at HelloFresh. Check them out. So go to HelloFresh.com/MinnMax21, MinnMax21, all one word, and use that code MinnMax21 for 21 free meals plus free shipping. I repeat,
that's insane.
HelloFresh.com/MinnMax21. Use that promo code MinnMax21. 21 free meals plus free shipping is what they say. So check it out. There's a link below for all this stuff and the promo code. Also, thank you to our friends at I Am 8-Bit. They want everybody to know about a downright vinyl bonanza that's happening at their wonderful online store. If you like vinyl soundtracks, you like video games, I'm telling you, I Am 8-Bit is the place to go. Go to their store. Everything in that store is cool, especially the vinyl collection. There's some great stuff in there, like the Chicory soundtrack on vinyl, the best. So if you go to their wonderful online store and you use the promo code WETBANDITS, all one word, WETBANDITS, you can get 10% off of everything that is under $100 in I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store. Cruise through it, find something you like. There's going to be something in there for you, I promise. And use that promo code WETBANDITS, all one word, for 10% off. All right, discount promo codes for HelloFresh and for I Am 8-Bit. They're in the description below. Get yourself a deal. Check it out. Help support the show. And help support I Am 8-Bit because they're shipping out a prize to the community like they do each and every week. We can't stop them. So whoever has the best question submitted over there on Patreon for this episode is going to win the vinyl soundtrack to the Muppet movie. Very good.
You got the Rainbow Connection in there?
That's right. Very good. So there's a prize each and every week from I Am 8-Bit. So jump in there over on Patreon. Even at the $2 tier, you can submit a question, and then we'll choose our favorite, and they win this cool prize. So here we go. Luis Garcia writes in and says, Happy New Year. I know you barely have time to keep up with each year's new releases, but what was your favorite game that you beat in 2022, but technically released before 2022? What do you got?
I beat Nier Automata.
Not for the first time, right?
No, for the first time.
Okay. And how many, when you say beat, what does that mean for Nier Automata for you? Like, how many endings are you going through?
I finished all the endings.
Nice.
It was like, I had to kind of like push myself after the second ending, because you really think that it's just going to be the same thing over and over again.
Right.
And you need people being like, no. It actually changes once you get past those first two endings, but
okay.
I really enjoyed it.
That's exactly where I'm at. Is like, I like that game, but I got like halfway through the second version of that story, and I'm like, I didn't like the gameplay enough, but
it's absolutely a completely different game after the. It's like you're not doing the same story beats again. It's like just a fully, it's just like, here's the 4th, 5th, and 6th chapter of that story. All
right, I should go back to that at some point. Realistically, I don't know if I ever will, but I want to in my heart of hearts. I beat it's weird this happened in 2022, but I guess it was like right at the start. I finally beat Tomato Adventure, that Game Boy Advance RPG that never came to the States. That was last year, Sarah. Isn't that crazy? Feels like a lifetime ago.
I know. Well, wasn't it like a 10-hour, multiple 10-hour streams, or? It was
a lot. I'm trying to remember. I think the last stream for it, one of them was over 10 hours. It was really fun. It was kind of fun. I think like my wife is out of town. It's like, this is how I'm going to spend my weekend, is just marathoning Tomato Adventure. And then like the translator showed up in the chat and he was like guiding me through these impossible dungeons later on in that game and stuff. But it was so fun. Anybody else play some old stuff last year?
I guess I played and beat Jak and Daxter.
Hey, for the deepest dive. That's right.
Yeah.
Heads
that was
up.
my first time playing it.
Don't play Jak 2, according to Janet. She says it's a bad game now. So you've been warned.
From her favorite game of all time to a bad game.
It's rough.
Sarah, how's Final Fantasy 12 going? I saw you were streaming that.
I'm only like 3 hours into it.
Oh, really?
But I'm enjoying it so far. I'm enjoying the quality of life changes they made in the PS4 release of it. But I'm worried because people are like, oh, it's a slog. And I'm like, I'm worried that I don't have the stamina. But I'm here I love Viera.
Yeah. Oh,
I stand the bunny girls.
Yep.
And I'm wondering, is that enough to get me through the game?
Well, it's really weird coming from your perspective, because like back in the day, not as somebody who didn't play 11, it's like 12 is like, well, I really love 12, but it feels a little bit like an MMO, like a single player MMO with that combat in particular. But now as somebody who like loves the Final Fantasy MMOs more than the main line, I'd imagine, like it must be weird.
I'm doing a lot of like, oh my gosh, that's from Final Fantasy 14. And people have to be like, no, Sarah, it's from Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah, and then that goes back to tactics, because it's all Ivalice and it's all a fun intertwined thing. But that's nice. Yeah, I know that game goes on for a long time. Like if you do like the hunts in particular, I remember doing those forever. So you can dodge those. And the new version, you can speed up combat, right?
It's funny. You can do like a fast forward. Yeah.
Okay.
And everything just goes really fast.
But especially if you have those gambits set up, you can let her roll. I think that sounds kind of fun.
I beat all of the Gears of War games for the first time last year, or at least the 1 through 5, and 5 freaking rules. Gears 5 is so good, easily my favorite of the franchise, and one of my favorite games I beat last year.
Because that's the one where they experiment more with like the open stuff, right?
Yeah, and it's like, that's fine. I could take or leave that, but it's just like, of all of them, that game just feels so good. It's like going back and playing like Gears 2 and 3, it was like, they really nailed down the feeling, but playing it now, it's just like the enemies are just too spongy and it's not quite fun. Yeah. And 5 has like exactly the right level between still, takes more shots to put someone down than it does in like Call of Duty, but it doesn't feel like you're just like emptying magazines into bugs that don't react.
Right.
And it's like the story of 5 is great. Like it's like it has a genuinely very good and interesting story.
Are you going to be disappointed if they don't make a Gears 6? Are you under the assumption that they're going to continue that storyline for the next one?
I mean, I'm under the... Clearly, they mean to. Like, 5 does not end conclusively.
Okay.
And I would be disappointed just because I think they have, like... I think with 5 in consideration, 6 would just be like a banger game.
Yeah. The J Juan 1, got you, buddy, says, hello, Ben and crew. Well, you finally got me. Oh, that's weird. After listening to you all for years, I finally became a patron to get you all that holiday party you deserve. And this is my first time writing in, so go easy on me. All right, everyone be super nice, please. My question is, let's get pissy. So right now, everyone's going to talk about all the games they're anticipating, but what are the games that the crew thinks will be disappointing or bad? What will be 2023's Callisto Protocol, Gotham Knights, or even as bad as Babylon's Fall?
I feel like we already kind of hit on that.
I think
that was most of my list.
I thought that was mostly like. I feel like we already visited that.
I think I hit all of mine. I think Starfield, Suicide Squad, and Lies of P are going to disappoint a lot of people. Those are my predictions.
I think Forspoken is not going to be great.
Okay.
And I also think that I can't remember the name. I think Redfall is going to be very disappointing.
That's a great option. So much arcane love going into this thing, and it's just the co-opiness, like having arcane take on
literally
Borderlands.
nothing that they have shown has looked remotely interesting. Like I've watched the trailers for that game, and it's like, I don't understand what part I'm supposed to be intrigued by of this.
Oh, God, that's a bummer. Maybe they'll pull it off. Who knows? Yeah, it's just, so many studios are going for that co-op focused game. And it's like, I mean, how many people on Earth are going to sit around with Suicide Squad and play that game all the way through with 3 other buddies? 14? Tops? I feel like it's this, maybe, is it just the press bias of... It seems like a fantastical world to play through a big co-op like that game, like on a consistent basis with a regular group.
I just feel like co-op is like it's for teens, especially with like an M-rated game, because it's like, well, kids can't play it because it's too violent, and I can't play it because none of my friends are ever not doing anything on the same nights.
They have free time.
Yeah.
They're the only ones with the free time to like get 3 other friends together at the same exact time.
Yeah. Philip McDougall writes in and says, hey folks, longtime listener, and recently I became patron supporter number 3,200. Very proud to be able to support such a great group of people. Thank you. The Juan thought that they were the one that got us over that goal. It turns out it was actually Philip who let us hit that goal exactly. So thank you, Philip. My question is this. Top tier free-to-play multiplayer games like Apex Legends, Halo Infinite, and Overwatch 2 are becoming more and more popular. Typically, the only thing you have the choice to pay for are typically cosmetics. Oftentimes, though, some of these games get massive amounts of negative feedback from the community. Are we greedy? What gives us the right to complain about games that are free to play? Interesting question, Philip.
So is he coming from it more from a perspective of what the fans want from the game in terms of like more content or something? Because when I read that, I thought it was like, hey, what gives critics the right to critique these games?
I think
which is a completely separate
fans.
thing.
I think it's fans. It's kind of the general outrage. It's weird to side on behalf of big companies, but yeah, Philip's angle is like, they're giving it to us for free. Shut up, everybody. Which
so I'll put my hands up. Could not disagree more.
Interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, it's a cliche, but like, if something is free, you are the product. Like that is true. And for, I'll just talk about Fortnite because that's the free game that I play all the time. Fortnite, I think, has a really generous monetization scheme in general. It's like you actually earn enough money in the battle pass that you can buy the next battle pass. So you really only have to buy it once. That's great. But the reason for that is because they are trying to get you addicted to playing that game. And I don't use that term lightly. It's like the actual gambling addicted. A new thing that Fortnite has done this season is they used to have weekly challenges that would all stack up. And so at the end of the season, if you hadn't played before, you could look back and see, 10 weeks of challenges that you could complete. Now they disappear every week, which means that you have to play the game every day in order to complete the challenges, in order to get the most value out of your battle pass. You know, it's a free game, but like that game is used for advertising. Companies pay money so their movie characters can get in it or whatever. Like, you know, it's free for a reason. It's not free because they're generous. It's free because they think they can get more money out of you by making it free.
Right. Yeah, so it's fair to criticize. I mean, I always think of like, you know, how much time I spent trying to download free games as a kid and just getting so much malware, and it's just a disaster on PC back in the day. It's like, I just imagine, like, God, if I was a kid now, there's so many great games that if you do not get sucked into the vortex of needing and wanting cosmetics and stuff that'll cost real money, like there's so many great games that you can play for free. So I kind of get part of the spirit that Philip's going for here.
There's also like you can provide feedback without being shitty about it.
Right.
Like that. I think that's the line of like, don't be, you know, abusive to the developers of these games, or we're not. But even if you're playing for free or whatever, like providing feedback to the developers of what you want or what you don't like has value to it, both for, you know, especially for the developer. Like that gives them something to go off of. If everybody's complaining about something, the alternative to not like complaining about it or telling them that you don't like it is people just stop playing it if they don't like it. So I don't think it's, I understand the spirit of the question, the intent of the question. There is certainly many communities out there that are toxic, and that's a completely different thing. But the fact that some games are free certainly doesn't justify any level of toxicity, but it also doesn't justify, you know, not providing critical feedback to something that you don't like.
Yeah. Thanks for writing in, Philip. Dylan Kelly says, hey, folks, what voice line from video games is forever stuck in your head? I personally hear lines from the 2001 RTS Stronghold Crusader almost every day in my head. I'm sorry, Dylan. I'm sorry for your torture. Does anybody have any lines that are baked in forever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played all the God of Wars on like the hardest difficulty when I was a kid, and so I would play those boss fights 100 times before I'd beat them. And so there's a boss fight against Zeus, and the checkpoint starts with Zeus saying "submit," and Kratos says, "I would rather die." And like
great writing.
every time I hit submit, not every time, but like probably a good third of the time that I hit submit on anything, which you do 20 times a day as someone who lives in the current world, I hear the little Zeus voice say "submit."
That's perfect.
That's a good one.
There's a Princess Peach voice line, and someone will have to tell me where it's from, but I've heard it all through my childhood, and it's like she wins. I don't know if it's like Double Dash or something, but she goes, "Oh, did I win?"
Oh, God.
And I don't know where it's from, but it has been like rattling around in my brain since I encountered it. So I think I played a lot of Princess Peach. I don't know where it's from. I couldn't tell you.
It molded your voice, molded your personality. Your life has just been crafted around this one line from Peach.
Probably about once a week, I will just randomly exclaim, "It's a me, a Mario."
Really? Deep cut Jeff.
reason.
Pretty
You'll be like,
Well, you'll have to change
brushing your
that
teeth.
after Mr. Pratt revolutionizes the
Yeah,
character.
I'll have to learn a new accent.
It's me,
non-accent.
Mario.
Jeff, are you willing to tell the story on air about living in America? The James Brown song?
What?
All right, never mind. I'll save that for later. You remember, you told me an embarrassing story about James Brown's living in America once. Do you not remember this? All right.
Subscribe to the Backstage
Yeah,
Pass.
all right. I'll bug you about it later. Mine are dumb. In Dragon Ball Z Budokai, the fighting games. See, I'm a fighting game guy. Hang on, you just remember, Jeff?
I remember. Yeah.
Oh, you're torturing everybody by not sharing this embarrassing story.
But I can't remember. I honestly can't remember how it goes.
I remember, but I don't know if you want me to say it.
Yeah, sure, say it, because it's bothering me now too that I can't remember
Jacob,
For years this used to happen. Yeah. What was it?
Jacob, is this too mean to save for a Backstage Pass? Because it is a weird thing to say on air. I'm going to save it for Backstage Pass. So remind me, if you're at the $10 tier, I apologize for monetizing this tease, but I will save it for Backstage Passers because it's weird. Anyways, mine on a more innocent front is the fighting game Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Every time Krillin would shoot a little ki blast, he'd go, "Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it?" And you just like, he would blast that so many times in the game. And apparently I played so much Krillin that "Can you feel it" is constantly in my head. And then from Independence Day on PlayStation 1, they say, "Bogey in your tail and coming home." And that is just also baked in there, and I can't free my brain from this prison. Catherine Gilbert writes in and says, "Question for Sarah. You made me embrace more of the kawaii aesthetic. Do you have any tips for me? Accessories, clothing, or game-wise?"
Yes, it's to just ignore the intended audience of it and just accept it into your soul.
Okay, so no matter what, if it looks like this is for a 13-year-old Japanese girl,
yeah, just ignore it.
It's for you.
Accept it into your soul. I think that's the thing about living in Japan is like, it's okay if you're like older to like, you know, kawaii, like Hello Kitty or little anime characters. It's okay, right? But I've had people come into my office, which is very sort of like, you know, cute. It's got a lot of my favorite things in it. And they'll be like, "Is this for a child?" And I'm like, "No, it's for me. Like, why can't I like surround myself with the things that make me happy?" And suddenly it's like, "Oh, I thought, what, you think this $200 Hatsune Miku figure on a Pac-Man is for a 5-year-old? No, it's for me and I paid for it."
And yes, I regret it, but maybe it keeps me young. Really? It's good.
Yeah.
All right, so embrace it. There we go. Peter Gallagher writes in and says, "Ben, a long time ago on the podcast, you asked us to write in with crazy coincidences." I'm still happy to hear more if anybody has any crazy coincidences. But Peter says, "I had one that happened recently. I stopped at a McDonald's on a road trip and was served a very hot cup of coffee. I realized this while driving. I took off the coffee cup lid, attempted to pour cold water in the coffee to cool it down. And when I looked up, I saw the license plate of the car in front of me said coffee." And I laughed out loud, but took it as a sign that I probably should never have been doing something like that while driving on a highway. Yeah, that is true.
It's good.
Please
I
send
thought
your coincidences.
this was somehow going to be, I was like listening to a podcast about that lawsuit with the woman with the McDonald's coffee.
And then I scalded myself.
Yeah.
Slycut writes in and says, "I like puzzles and I'm generally very good at them. There's one type of puzzle, however, that stumps me every time. The sliding tile puzzle."
I was going to say, is it the slide?
That was my answer.
I hate those.
Yep. Usually lots of tiles that are scrambled with one tile missing, so you can slide the tiles around to rearrange them in the correct picture. I've never figured out the trick to consistently complete this type of puzzle, and my heart sinks if it ever shows up in a game because I'll usually need to look up a solution. Are there any puzzle types that you constantly struggle with? I've learned to like that type of puzzle because back in the day when Wind Waker came out, like Ronnie was playing it and I went over there and he had all of those. Help me out, Sarah. There's like a part of the game where it's a bunch of slide puzzles, but it's like an optional area or like a late game area or something.
It's the little like Oasis vacation home that the teacher lives in, and I think she gives you the deed and it contains a bunch of slide puzzles. I think that's where it is.
Okay. For some reason I was just like,
or is it at, never mind. I don't know where it is.
For whatever reason, I sat down and I didn't play Wind Waker back in the day, but I just sat down with his copy of the game and just sat over at his house for hours and hours and did all of those slide puzzles and convinced myself that I'm really good at them. So you just need to just blast through it. Did you just like
brute force it, or was there like...
No, I used my genius 13-year-old brain.
Was there thought behind it?
I'm sure. I mean, you've seen me play games, Sarah. I don't think there's ever much thought behind anything, but somehow I got it done.
I don't like riddles. Like just word riddles. I feel like they are too obtuse for me. And like Silent Hill 2 has like a really cool system where the puzzle difficulties, you can get like harder or easier riddles. And it's like, in theory, I think that's cool. But in practice, I just like am bad at them.
That's why you hated the second back half of God of War Ragnarok, because it's all hinged on a riddle.
That's right.
It tortured you.
But fortunately, I didn't figure it out. So I didn't ruin that moment for myself.
Starmid watching live the Backstage Pass tier. They're asking about the The sliding puzzle. Yeah, the sliding puzzle is the pieces. That's the one we're talking about. But they bring up the...
Well, you're talking about the picture puzzles.
Yes.
Where you have to like rearrange it to form a picture that you don't really know what it's supposed to be until you do the puzzle.
Right, but Star brings up another type of sliding puzzle, which is kind of the... I always associate it with, I think it's Pokemon Silver and Gold, like where you're on the ice and there's like rocks scattered around and you have to like go in a straight line, then it'll stop you, then you have to go this way. I don't mind those. I think those are fine too.
Yeah, those are okay. Those are doable at least. The tile ones, I think part of it is just I don't have the patience for it. And so it's just like after 2 minutes of trying sincerely to solve it, I just start moving it around until eventually they're going to get
it feels like
but I never get
feels
good
like
at
a
it.
Rubik's Cube where people who know how to solve them are like, yes, there's this pattern that you do, but it's like I don't have the pattern, so who knows? Thank
you for reminding me. I had a dream last night that I was on Survivor and our challenge was a Rubik's Cube. And it was a freaking nightmare. Don't ever solve those. James Gameboy writes in and says, most of my anticipation is for all the games I've been seeing from the Playdate community. It's going to be a big year for 1-bit Zelda and Metroid-like games on the Playdate. I'm glad y'all play and talk all day long about the AAA games for me so I can have some relevant gaming knowledge and just stick to the Playdate and retro stuff. So thank you for that, says James Gameboy. I like your life, James Gameboy.
Like a pleasant mindset to live in.
I know.
Where you have a Playdate and you're like, and this is what I play all my games on, and I'm really excited for the new games that I'm going to get. Like,
yeah, someone's making a new good Zelda clone on Playdate, and I'm looking forward to it. James, you're better than all of us, and we want to
none of this like
you.
Starfield. No. Take it back to the basics.
Please. Luca Alberti writes in and says, the new year of dreams is upon us. Silksong coming soon. And it's apparently, quote, enough said, despite it being labeled as such back in 2019, and the direct sequel to Breath of the Wild will finally release 6 years afterwards. Do you think development teams will find a cap in size and scope that allows them to go back to shorter development cycles? Given the current developer shortage and growth of ambition, it seems unfeasible for the industry to be sustainable. Personally, I think Final Fantasy XVI not going OW, Overwatch, was a great call to deliver the game in a timely manner.
Open world.
Open world. Thank you. That makes much more sense. But I fear that might have been approved just because 15 was already in that arena. Do you think development teams will find a cap in size and scope that allows them to go back to shorter development cycles? Good question. Like Jason Schreier, I think Luca
was about to ask if he saw this tweet.
Yep, I think Luca even mentioned that in the full version of this question. But yeah, Jason Schreier just tweeted out something that lit Reddit on fire, which is like, if developers are starting on a game right now, it's a PS6 games because these games are taking so long that realistically, if you're starting fresh, we're at that point. But Sarah, what were you thinking about this?
My cynicism says no, and that it's going to be just as long as it's always been. But I think if you wanted a shorter cycle, you have to like simplify your expectations of the games that you want to play and like.
Right.
You have to go for like the games that do one thing really well versus like the AAA games, which will have every single facet of a video game in it, all tied up and like QA'd and everything. So.
Yeah, I feel like that is putting a cap on it is the only solution that the industry is going to have. And I feel like the new Assassin's Creed is kind of like the testing ground of that, where, publishers have been complaining about and also justifying raising the price of games every generation because they say, oh, it's just getting so expensive to make games that you have to pay more for them. And it's like, well, but part of that is the type of games that you're choosing to make. Like, you're the ones who are deciding every game has to be a massive open world game with 1,000 icons of stuff to do on the map. And gamers, it really, like, they buy those games, but all the publishers want to be the next GTA 5. That's why they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on every one of their games, because they want that $1 billion breakout. But I feel like there's maybe this is just our like media bubble, but I feel like there's plenty of people out there who are like, oh, a shorter Assassin's Creed, sign me up. Like, I want a more narrow scope thing. And I think publishers are afraid to do that because they think it's not going to, make them the amount of money that they want to get from these games as well. I always think of like, when Square sold off Tomb Raider, where it was like, oh, like the last Tomb Raider, like didn't meet our expectations, but it was still also the best-selling Tomb Raider,
right?
That up to that point, and it's like you have skewed expectations about how much money you want to make, and you're chasing that by continually blowing up the games bigger and bigger. But at some point, that's going to break, and you're not going another $10 on top of the price of admission isn't going to fix that. At some point you have to start making smaller games and like believe that there's going to be an audience for that, or just accept, or like just come up with realistic budgets for the type of experience that you're making.
Yeah.
I have hope, maybe it is naive, that there will be more kind of AA games, because like the seemingly new engine tools, like the tools that like Unreal 5 has and stuff for like generating landscapes, characters, whatever. As someone who does not develop, I look at that and I'm like, wow, look at how quickly it can make these things that in the past would have taken, months to create. Maybe that will let smaller teams, chase not huge, but like bigger ambitions. But maybe it's, I don't know, maybe having those tools just makes the demands of everything else higher to like meet the same standard of quality.
Yeah, it is tough. It's like, how do you send a message to the industry? Like, most of us are okay if you aren't pushing the boundaries of graphic fidelity. Like, I'd like to have 2 games a year that really push it visually, and everything else. And I'm fine if you make some throwback looking thing as long as the gameplay is fun. I think the sales of indie games has confirmed that. I mean, Vampire Survivors, look at the success of that. That looks like trash.
Yeah, but I do also think that is maybe a bubble thing for us, where it's like there are videos on YouTube that get tens of millions of views that are demonstrating that, like, GTA 5's car physics are less sophisticated than GTA 4's, or Assassin's Creed Valhalla's knife animation has fewer frames than like
recycled animations and God of War Ragnarok.
People are annoying
stuff.
as hell about that, and I do think that there are as many of them as there are of us. Yeah,
that's probably fair. But yeah, we talked a little bit about it after I got back from GDC last year, but that was a big, interesting theme, just talking to developers at AAA studios and all the panels. But it is just this weird vibe of all these games are getting bigger and bigger, and we need more and more people to work on them, and we have just run out of talent in the game industry. Like, everybody's frantic to hire. And part of that is also combined with a very healthy realization of not wanting to crunch anymore. And so that takes, realistically, if you want these games to come out at the same clip, that takes even more developers to throw on the pile. And so at a certain point, it's just, we don't have the talent. Slowly, it'll bubble up from the bottom. But at least for big developers, they were all panicking about, we have so many positions open and we're trying to save our team and trying to finish this big of a game in this amount of time. It's
I would
not
just push back and say those are all senior positions, because I think a big issue in the video game industry is they don't train as much as other places. You kind of have to come in with like a resume of something that you've already done, which is just like my criticism of it, is a lot of those positions are senior positions. And it's like people who are senior are making better money, not in the video game industry.
Right.
Probably. Right. So
yeah, I mean, there was that story about The Last of Us 2 that Jonathan Cooper, who was the former Naughty Dog animation person, talked about. That was like, Naughty Dog has run out of animators that can meet its standard of quality, and so they're hiring movie people to make the games, and that means that the animations look really good, but also this game took 3 years longer than it should have to develop, which is certainly a running out of people to make a photorealistic game problem.
Yeah, for sure. Mr. Buttons writes in with a critical question. What is the appropriate amount of time you can stay at your table in a restaurant after finishing your meal? Let's say like default restaurant, like Olive Garden. How long you can sit at that table before
Olive Garden? Forever.
Forever, yeah.
Yeah,
you can live in that booth.
Never leave.
How bottomless is this salad? Okay, what do you think in general then? Before maybe it's...
I would say first you have to say like how busy is the restaurant? Because if it's busy and there's people waiting and you're sitting there and chatting, you're going to hell.
You are going to hell. Let's say it's not full. It's at 80% capacity. It's humming along, but it's not...
Are you being actively... Is there a waiter, or was it like an order at the counter?
Waiter.
If there's a waiter, I would say 20 to 30 minutes.
20 to 30.
Because then you're holding their table hostage.
Yeah, I think, it's like, as long as if it's busy and or an hour from closing time, you should leave. I think you should be generous with, if the restaurant says that it closes at 9, you should be getting out of there by 8:15 if you're done with your meal. But yeah, it's like, I don't think, as someone who worked in a restaurant, it's like when it wasn't busy, I didn't care if people just hung out there.
Oh, that's nice. Which restaurant did you work at?
Bowl City Burger in Durham, North Carolina.
Oh, what'd you do?
Served people burgers.
You served people burgers.
It was an order at the counter, but then bring it out to you place. And so I was just like front of house.
Oh, that's nice. I was in the airport not too long ago in Minneapolis, and I went to this Mac Shack, and I got just like a bunch of chicken tenders and a bunch of waffle fries, and it was great. But I didn't realize they were closing down. And so I got it to eat at that restaurant. And so it was like they were starting to lock the doors and clean the place up. And so I was like, I need to fly through this freaking meal. And so I ate all of that food in like under 2 minutes. And I really thought I was going to die afterwards. Like, I don't think a human heart's meant to consume 3,000 calories in 2 minutes, but it was for them. I did it for their team. And they thanked me.
Very nice of you.
Thank you. They called me a hero. And I said, please, please. Drake Heinhorst writes in and says, in 2022, I managed to get 19 platinum trophies and noticed that while some games do a good job naming their trophies, others do not. I thought I would list out some of the platinum trophies I earned and the crew could guess the game it was for. No game in the list is released before 2017, just for a little clue. So these are the names of platinum trophies. You guess the game. All right, Jeff, you all warmed up, ready to go?
Ready.
Elden Ring. Turns out it's Elden Ring. That's a very cheeky way to kick this off, Drake.
Okay.
Okay. The platinum trophy is called Bunker Mastered. Bunker Mastered. What game do you think that is? Think of the word mastered in particular.
Oh, so not like Fallout. Because I was like, Fallout 76.
Emphasis on mastered. Emphasis on what we talked about earlier with Sarah. A certain master is a role within a game that Sarah plays every other week.
What does this have to do with
D&D?
D&D?
Final Fantasy.
Okay, it has a little bit to do with D&D. It's a game that came out early last year. We didn't talk about it for the 210s. Maybe we did, I forget.
Plague Tale, Innocence.
Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, everybody. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Mm-hmm.
Fist of the Immortal. What platinum is that? Fist of the Immortal. Correct. Very impressive.
Oh,
nice.
Very impressive. Excellent job following directions. What's that platinum?
Stanley Parable?
Wow. Ultra Deluxe. Very good, Jacob Keller.
Is that does he say, is it the original?
It's Ultra Deluxe.
That's the one that you had to not play for 7 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the original had hilarious achievements, and one of them was don't play the game for 7 years.
Oh, that's so good. Conquistador. A game that came out 2021. Big game. One of these that we're talking about that's ridiculously big. Conquistador is a Spanish word. If I may be so bold.
Can you give us the official definition?
Somebody who conquers.
It's not like an Assassin's Creed.
Warm.
Is it? Is it Far Cry?
Far Cry 6. There we go. Way to go. So Long RC. So Long RC. And RC is the abbreviation for a town. So a game where an iconic video game town perhaps blows up at the end. And the initials are RC.
Resident Evil 3.
Hey!
2?
3 remake. Way to go, buddy. Very impressive. Everyone is very smart. Everyone did a good job. What do y'all like for question of the week, everybody? Sarah, might I remind you, we had the voice lines that are stuck in our heads, which are going to pay off for the Backstage Passers. Puzzles that we hate. Development team size. How are you feeling?
I like the puzzles one just because I really hate slide puzzles. And I just feel like if we keep manifesting them, they'll stop putting them in video games.
Okay.
I don't know who we have to, who's the manager of video game puzzles that we need to talk to, but...
The fact that he also called out the correct answer to that one.
Yeah.
I'll sign off on that one.
All right, there you go. Sly Cut, you just won a prize. It's the Muppet Movie vinyl soundtrack from I'm 8-Bit. That's just going to show up in your mailbox. All you had to do was submit a question over here on Patreon. We appreciate it. Now it's time for something that we like to call Get a Load of This. So good. Sarah, what do you got?
This is going to be incredibly timely.
Okay.
But Kenny Omega walked out to Sephiroth One-Winged Angel, and he's cosplaying Sephiroth. And it looks incredible. They like spread out a huge wing on like the giant mega screen. 10 out of 10.
That's good. I think.
But I feel like if I walked out on stage to One-Winged Angel, I think I would instantly become a villain. I don't think I could come back from that.
Right. Is he a heel or what's going on in modern wrestling?
I have no clue.
Okay, I think he'd have to be if he's walking out.
I just saw
to
this,
that.
and I'm just here for the One-Winged Angel.
That's good.
And Kenny Omega.
That's nice. Are you into wrestling at all, sir?
No, but I kind of was forced to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Because there's a really weird overlap between people who like Japanese video games and people who like wrestling. I've talked to multiple people, and I'm like, where is this coming from? And I have not gotten to the bottom of it yet. But when I do, I will let you know.
Sarah,
you think they have the same style of line delivery? Where one person says something and then there's like a 4-second gap.
Is it the anime of it? I don't know.
The secret is dorks. We're all dorks, and they're very dorky things, if I may be so bold. Hey, get a load of this. This is from a writer roundtable that Hollywood Reporter published on their YouTube channel, but it's with a bunch of people who released some great films this year, sitting around talking. So, Ryan Johnson and Tony Kushner from The Fabelmans and Daniel Kwan from Everything Everywhere All at Once, a bunch of folks like that. But they talked at a certain point in this roundtable about the worst writing gigs they've been offered, or like the worst projects. And Daniel Kwan from Everything Everywhere All at Once told this story where he said that he got a call from Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey was like, okay, do you know, and this is before they made Swiss Army Man or anything, and they said, do you know about Paranormal Activity? And he's like, yes. And Jim Carrey's like, that movie was really successful. Found footage of horror movies, this is huge. And here's the thing, we're going to be making Dumb and Dumber 2. And the weird thing is, Dumb and Dumber 1, while we were filming it, the set was haunted because we filmed parts of Dumb and Dumber 1 in the hotel from The Shining. So there was like weird ghost stuff happening everywhere. So I want you to go and film a found footage film about the making of Dumb and Dumber 2 because I bet this one's going to be haunted as well. And so Daniel Kwan's like, I don't know, but then he went back and thought about it. He's like, you know what? This is so weird. Yes, we should do this. We should make a found footage horror film about the filming of Dumb and Dumber 2. And that they agreed to do it. And so they contacted the producers, Dumb and Dumber 2, and they're like, what are you talking about? No, like that's just Jim Carrey reaching out to you. Like this was never greenlit in any way. We're absolutely not allowing this. So anyways, they talk about it in the Writers Roundtable. There's a link below if you're interested. Jeff, you got one?
Yeah, get a load of this. I stole this one from I Mean Leafeon because I didn't have my own. But this doesn't count as the community one, just to be clear. But CNN has made a documentary about Dionne Warwick, and a news story came out from the documentary where apparently in the 90s, it says she hosted an intervention at her house for Snoop Dogg and a bunch of other rappers because she wanted to confront them on their misogynistic lyrics in their songs. And she insisted that they all be there at 7 a.m. sharp. And Snoop Dogg said that everyone was so scared that they were all in her driveway by 6:52 in the morning. And then she went on to berate them, and she insisted that they all call her the B word to her face. And she basically shamed them all. And Snoop Dogg says that he said that day she out-gangstered all of them, but he says that he completely changed his career and the tone on all of his music from that point on, and that he's he hopes that he's like lived up to her expectations from him and stuff. And it all sounds very interesting. And now I want to watch that documentary.
That's cool. There's a link below.
Yeah.
Jacob, you got one?
Yeah, there's a feature on GameInformer.com on the Ryu ga Gotoku in general, them as a studio talking to people. But there is just this anecdote about the series, the Yakuza chief director Ryusoku Hori, and I'm just gonna read this line. Hori's life work is not the Yakuza series; it's karaoke, and he has the stats to prove it. Hori keeps a spreadsheet of all the songs he can sing at karaoke. Once a year, he prints out the most up-to-date version and carries it around with him. Figuring he might need it today, he printed out a new one just in case. When he hands it over, I look over the meticulous details spread across a staggering 7,964 songs.
Why print it out? Why not just have it in like Google Docs or something like a normal karaoke fan?
It's like,
so you can hand it to people. Yeah.
Is it like laminated
how
too?
Many times it's like if you sang 5 songs a night at karaoke, like imagine how many nights you would have to do karaoke to have that many songs.
You got one from the community, Jeff?
Yeah, get a load of this. This one is from Nick from Fantasy Critic now. Believe formerly from Atlanta.
That's right.
But it's a tweet about Jamal Williams. And he plays for the Lions, and he was asked in an interview what he thinks about what Aaron Rodgers said about the Lions. And his answer, you need to watch the clip for yourself, but he basically starts by just saying he doesn't care. He doesn't watch TV. He just wants to go home and play Pokemon. and then the person asking him says, "Oh, Pokemon," and then he gives him a bunch of grief for saying Pokemon instead of Pokemon.
As it should be.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's what every football player should be. He's earned his millions of dollars.
That's right.
Yep.
Hey, that's it for this episode of the MinnMax Show, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening. We appreciate y'all being here. We'll be back each and every week throughout the year. This fun will never stop, we promise, as long as your support keeps rolling over there on Patreon. And thank you to some of our biggest supporters at the $50 tier on Patreon. They can declare themselves the game champion of any game under the sun, and we have some good ones. Logan Krause declared themselves the champion of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords. Procyon number 6 is the champion of Ghost of Tsushima. Malcolm Holiday, I love this choice, chose Cave Story, but specifically the freeware version. Malcolm Holiday is the champion of that version. Jesse Spencer is the champion of Yakuza Like a Dragon, a game we can't stop talking about. Ray Luwaza is the champion of New Pokemon Snap. Great choice. A beloved recent game. All right, that's it. Thanks everybody for being here. Sarah, how you feeling?
Worried about the Game of the Year discussions this year already.
Based on just listing out some of the games that are coming out?
Yeah, I don't know. We started with talking about how obviously Breath of the Wild was going to take it.
Right.
And then we all discussed the games we were actually looking forward to. I don't know. It seems like it seems like it might be kind of a rougher year.
It seems like we're
Spot
scared
One.
of every game that's coming out this year.
Why would we live in fear?
We don't need to. We can just sit back and assume that the team over there at Nintendo knows exactly what they're doing, and it's going to be it's going to be the equivalent of the Elden Ring win, I think, for Breath of the Wild 2, or Tears of the Kingdom. I need to get used to saying. It just relax there. Just imagine it's going to be a completely stress-free debate, because it's just going to be Tears of the Kingdom, and that's it. Did you get stressed out at all during the 210s, do you think?
No, because I didn't have as many like horses in the race as I
Right.
did the previous year. This year it was a lot easier to pick the ones and people agreed with the ones that I picked, so like our opinions overlapped more this year.
Right.
But when our opinions kind of don't overlap, it gets a little bit harder.
It was harder. I think I tuned into one of your streams and we were talking about the 210s and Game of the Year stuff, and you just said, like, honestly, I don't care as long as Elden Ring wins. I don't care about anything else on that list. And I was like, okay, good. Sarah's, she's weak. She's Play-Doh. We can slide her fix around as long as Elden Ring
She doesn't
takes it.
have the strength to fight.
Her backbone's gone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks so much for watching and listening, everybody. We'll be back next week. Be good. Have fun. Let's go.
All right. That inappropriate
Where's
story.
the story?
All right.